New Radio Sports Network, and tonight's game will be on 105.1 The Goat as Southern Door welcomes Gibraltar to Brussels tonight as Southern Door, one of the hottest teams in the Packerland Conference, and joined right now by Coach Josh Vandenbush. And Coach, today your kids don't have school, and how are you kind of keeping your kids focused on the task ahead as you have a game tonight and then another week to go before playoffs?
You know, we've had a couple of games, whether it's been Saturday games or over Christmas or things like that, where they haven't had school before our games, and usually the guys will go get breakfast together, and I'll bring them in here in a little bit for a shoot around, and that's kind of how we maintain our focus and things. You know, not just sitting around all day and then showing up at 7 o'clock for a game. So it's good to get them up and moving around, and having their mind focused on basketball these days where they don't have school and they're kind of out of their normal daily routine.
And have you noticed at all? Has that been pretty effective so far in those opportunities that you've had so far this season, where you've had to have them kind of come in a little bit morning? It's almost like a hockey schedule where they do the morning skates before the games that night.
Yeah, we use it during. We've used it for years during playoff time and stuff like that when we have those Saturday games. So it works. It works well. I don't see a negative effect to it. So it's something that we continue to do. Getting their minds focused, and hopefully that little bit, whether it's that hour coming in and shooting, gets them focused and ready for the game at night.
And coming off a big win against Algoma, and you've won, I think we said 8 of 10, or it's 9 of 11 at this point. What's been kind of your secret to kind of keeping this momentum going and keeping the team as a whole focused and kind of still looking ahead towards the ultimate goal, which would be potentially winning a Packerland Conference and advancing to state? I mean, where you are in the conference right now, I mean, some teams have kind of come back to you, and there's a real opportunity that you can capture another Packerland Conference championship.
I think we're just as a team thankful. After we started off the conference play of 0-2, losing to O'Connell and losing at Peshtigo to start our year off, we've kind of just refocused a little bit and came in with the mindset of we're gonna take it one game at a time. We're gonna try and take care of what we can control, and that's kind of the way we've been able to maintain focus. And the guys are playing really well as they've kind of gained that varsity experience, like we've talked about in the past, and it's really showing here towards the end of the season.
Another team in the Packerland Conference that's been hot as of late, still looking up at you in the conference standings, but maybe has been just as hot as you with Gibraltar. When you take a look at what that game was like just a few weeks ago, you were able to win in Fish Creek 60-53. What do you remember from that game, and maybe some of those lessons you learned from that game that you're applying to practice here this weekend to that morning shoot-around?
As I reflect on that game that we played up at Fish Creek a couple weeks ago, or a month ago or so, we came out hot and allowed them to kind of creep back into the game. And in the second half, we got down by 7 twice in that game, and we were able to dig ourselves out of that hole with some good shooting by Nick Peer, and we're able to kind of extend the lead and seal it with free throws at the end of the game. It's never going to be a easy game with them. When you have a guy like Sam Lindenberg who can put up numbers scoring wise in bunches, along with a couple of their big guys and having kind of that height advantage, it's never going to be an easy game. So we have to make sure that we're focused and come prepared and ready to play.
And that was a big key to that win as well, because you were able to hold Sam Lindenberg, I believe, under 10 points. And has that been kind of almost like a lesson to your team? Because you've been able to do that a few times since then as well, where you've been able to kind of target that other team's top opponent, and you've been able to shut them down pretty well.
I kind of have a philosophy of you can either take away their best player and let other guys try to beat you, or you got to take away everybody else and let that one player try to beat you. And we've done a really good job this year of focusing on that main player in Gibraltar, like Sam Lindenberg, the first time around, holding him to 4 points, and making other guys beat us. And, they had some guys that stepped up in that game and had some good shooting, and they really gave us a run for our money. So for tonight's game, we have to again keep Lindenberg under control and try to take away some of those other guys as well.
We saw some of those newer players or not necessarily newer players, but as we got closer to, or as we get closer to the playoffs, I should say, starting to stretch out the bench a little bit here. How happy were you with how they performed against Algoma and maybe even responded with practices since then?
They've really stepped up their game here in the last half of the season. Lance LaGrave, Derek Shinkton, and Jaden Diller in particular. And, I'm getting a sense now for who's going to be able to give us those minutes when we need them. And, playoff time, benches typically tend to shrink a little bit. So it's their opportunity right now to be able to show what they can do and, that they're deserving when those crunch time minutes come and those big moments during playoffs here in a couple weeks, and see who can get 1 or 2 minutes or play a whole half if somebody's in foul trouble, who's going to be able to handle that kind of pressure. And these games that these guys have been playing are really going a long way towards that.
Fill in the blank time, Coach. Southern Door takes the season series in a sweep from Gibraltar if your team is able to do what?
Keep their shooters down and grab those offensive or defensive rebounds among their bigs tonight.
Southern Door hosting Gibraltar. That game can be heard on 105.1 The GOAT and NewRadioSportsNetwork.com. Coach, good luck tonight. We'll talk to you afterwards.
Sounds good. Thanks.
You've been listening to the New Radio Sports Network.